If you are like most families in the college recruiting process, then you are likely getting recruited by anywhere from 0 to 5 schools right now, and you're not really sure why that number is so low. Your kid is talented, maybe they're outperforming other players on your team, maybe they're one of the best players in the area, and it makes no sense why you don't have more traction in the college recruiting process. And so in this video, I want to talk about 5 things that are holding you back, that are causing you to get less interest in offers than you hoped for. And I'm going to be able to do this because I have talked to thousands of parents in the college recruiting process. And so if you are anything like them, here's a few things that you're doing right now. First of all, you're going to showcases and camps hoping that you're getting exposure. You're going to the big massive showcases. You're also going to the individual school showcases because you think there's less people there, so you're more likely to actually get looked at. And you're paying thousands or tens of thousands of dollars for these events through flights and hotels and rental cars and gas and showcase fees, and you're not getting the exposure or looks that you thought that you were going to get. You're also sending emails and some DMs because you've heard that that's a good thing to do. And so you have anywhere from 10 to 40 schools on a list, and you're emailing them, but you're either getting generic camp invites back or you're not getting any responses at all. And you're like, man, I've heard of other people using this. Why isn't it working for me? And you're kind of confused about that. You've made a highlight video of your kid and you took their best clips and you threw them into this one singular video, and it's anywhere from 1 to 4 minutes long, and you're sending that in your emails and DMs. And quick note on that, that's actually going to hurt you, and we're going to talk about why in this video. You've also joined the most prestigious team that you possibly can, whether that's a travel or a club team or a strong high school in your area. You have picked some sort of organization who has a leader at the helm who has told you that they have connections with college coaches and that they are going to make calls on your behalf. They're going to make those intros, and that they are going to help you get to a low-level D1, high-level D2 school or something like that, right? And this is what you're currently doing in the recruiting process, and it's not working for you. You're not getting the interest and offers that you hope for, and the question is why? So let's dive into those 5 things right now. By the way, if you don't know who I am, my name is Jack Kruger. I run a company called D1 Scholarship. We help families navigate through the college recruiting process, and everything I'm going to share in this video is based on personal experience. We've helped hundreds of athletes across 14 different sports generate tens of millions of dollars in scholarships, okay? So the first issue that you are running into is the showcase and camp issue, where you're going to these events thinking that you're getting exposure. You're not. Here's why you're not. It's because of selective attention. Selective attention is when people are so focused on one specific thing that they miss everything else that's in their field of view. And this is what's happening to college coaches when they watch your kid. When you go to an event and there are 200 athletes there, college coaches are not watching 200 players. They're not. What they do is they come into those events with a list of 10 players on that list that they are planning on watching. And so when there are 200 athletes out there, they're not watching 200, they're watching 10. And the other 190 are just wallpaper. And there have been significant studies done on this, which is selective attention, which is that when they are so focused on 10 athletes, even if the other athletes, the other 190 are playing on the same field or the same court, or they're right in front of them, and those kids are balling out, they don't even see them. They only see those 10 because that's what they're looking for. And this is why when you go to an event and your kid balls out and they're the best athlete there and you're like, we're going to get an offer for sure after this, that doesn't happen. And not only does that not happen, your kid doesn't get pulled aside at the end. You don't get a call. You don't get an email or a text. You don't get anything after that. And you're like, man, what are they looking for? My kid was the best. They were looking for the other 10 players that were at the event, the players that they'd already heard of, that they'd already seen video of, that they've already talked to, and those 10 players had an advantage in the event, and you didn't know that. And so that's what's happening to your showcases and camps right now as you shell out thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. The average family is said to spend anywhere between $20,000 and $30,000 on their kids' travel or club teams over the course of their high school career. You're shelling out all of that money with the intention of getting recruited, but it's actually not helping you in any way, shape, or form make that happen. And so ideally, you want to use these events for evaluation, not exposure. We're going to talk about that at the end. The second thing is outreach. We talked about sending emails or DMs, and you're probably doing some form of that. That is not revolutionary. You saying that you're sending emails doesn't mean you're ahead of the curve. everybody is sending emails, right? So it no longer becomes what you do that separates you, but how you do it. And so currently, if you're like most families, you're probably contacting anywhere between 10 and 40 schools. Now, if you are contacting more than 40 schools and you are not getting any responses, then there's a hole in your process, whether it's your scripts, your video, your kid isn't talented enough, you're contacting the wrong schools. There's something wrong with your process if you are contacting more than 40 and you're not getting anything back. But for most families, they're not contacting more than 40. They've contacted anywhere between 10 and 40, and they're wondering, why don't we have more interest? And the simple answer to this is that you're not contacting enough schools, because you think that by contacting 20 schools, you're getting evaluated by 20 schools. That's not happening, because not every single school is going to open your email or DM. Of the 20, let's say 15 of them do. That's a 75% open rate. That's pretty solid. A lot of people aren't really even going to get that. And so you're going to get 15 out of the 20 that open your email, but not all of those who open the email are going to click on the video and actually watch the video of your kid. So they're not even really evaluating your kid. That might be 5 out of the 15 or 10 out of the 15. So by sending 20, remember, you are actually getting half or less than half of those coaches' eyes on your kid. And so what you really need to do is 5x the number of schools that you contact. You should really be contacting 100 plus schools. Now, if you are like most families in the process, you will then say, Jack, we are not interested in 100 schools. We want to be close to home, or we want to go to this specific conference, or we want to go to a high academic school. Those are all great wants and ambitions, but you are missing the point. You are not understanding how the college recruiting process actually works, and you are setting yourself up for failure. When you contact 100 schools, or I tell you to, it's not because I'm naive. It's not because I naively think that you really are interested in 100 plus schools. No, nobody is interested in 100 plus schools. But why is that valuable? Because when you get interest from other schools, your kid becomes more attractive to the schools that you care the most about. If your kid gets contacted by their favorite school, and you're not talking to anybody else, and that school says, like they often do, who else are you talking to? Who else are you getting recruited by? And you say, well, nobody. Then that school's going to go, well, why not? If you were a good player, wouldn't you be getting recruited by more schools? But the reason you're not getting recruited by more schools is because you only contacted 20 of them. If you had contacted 100, then that conversation would go very different. And you can even generate interest from your favorite schools by getting recruited by other ones. There are a million reasons to contact more schools. I've made videos about it on this channel. You can go watch those videos. But it is critical that you contact more than 20 or 30 schools. That's what most families do and why most families fail. Now, the third piece of this, I talked about the highlight video, and I said, hey, there's usually an issue with the highlight video for how most families are sending those. And what most families do is they take their kids' best clips, they smash them together into a single 1 to 4 minute highlight video, and that's what they send in their emails and their DMs. They post it on social media, etc. The problem with this is that college coaches get hundreds of these things every single day. So when they get in their inbox, they just see a wall of 1 to 4 minute highlight videos from players that they have no idea whether they're good enough to play for their school or not. And they don't have time to go through every single one and watch 4 minutes of all of them. They're not going to do that. So what you are doing when you create a 4 minute highlight video is you are actually creating more friction for a college coach to recruit your kid. In other words, you're making it too hard for them to recruit your kid. Instead, what you should be doing is making it as easy as possible for college coaches to recruit your kid. That's ideally what you are going to be doing. And what happens with these highlight videos is that you are ultimately creating an entertainment source. When you make a 4 minute highlight video, you are trying to entertain the coach. The coach doesn't care about entertainment. The coach cares about evaluation. Your highlight video is like ESPN top 10. You're not actually evaluating the players in top 10. You're just saying, wow, that was a cool play. That was fun. That was entertaining. But college coaches are trying to evaluate whether your kid can actually help them help them win championships at the next level or not. And so your highlight video that's entertaining doesn't really help them do that. And so there is something else that you should be doing, and we're going to talk about that at the end of this video. By the way, if you want help in the college recruiting process, and you're like, holy cow, I don't really know how to make this happen, and I want to increase the chances that my kid gets recruited with a scholarship to a school that they love, then click the link in the description to learn more about our programs, okay? Now, the other thing that we talked about was club and travel coach connections, and I said that that was really not that important, and that you don't want to rely on those, and that's true, because if you take your process and you put it into somebody else's hands, you are forever reliant upon somebody who will not fight for your kid like you will. And those coaches have made the same promise to every single other athlete in their organization. It's their sales pitch. Join our team. I'm going to make calls for you, and we're going to help you get to the next level. That's their sales pitch. The problem is that they can't do this for every single one of their families. They don't have the time to make 50 calls for every family. So usually, like I said, in the beginning, they really try to help you. They're very hands-on, and then that tapers off over time and you never really hear from them again. And this is what happens when you take your process and you put it into somebody else's hands. Your travel coach, club coach, high school coach does not have the time to be your personal recruiting agent. They don't have the time for that. You must take control of your kid's recruiting process if you want the most interest in offers in the process, or really even any interest in offers in the process, which leads me to my last issue that you are probably struggling with right now, which is that you might even know how to generate interest in the process, but you don't know how to turn that interest into scholarship offers. And this is one of the least talked about things in college recruiting, which is the ability to take a relationship in the early stages and actually build it over time to the point where a coach ends up giving you a 5 or 6 figure scholarship. And most people in recruiting will talk about the initial stage of getting exposure. Here's how you get camp invites. Here's how you get responses. And then if you notice, that's where the strategy ends. They have no idea how to take those conversations to the next level and actually turn them into offers. That's one of the things that we actually spend the majority of our time doing at D1 Scholarship. Sure, getting exposure is important, but to be honest with you, it's not that hard. It's not that hard to get the exposure. That's the easy part. The hard part is turning that interest into offers. I talk to lots of families who already have some interest. They're like, man, I feel like we don't really need, the full program or anything like that because we're already talking to some schools. I'm like, that's cool. So have you turned those into offers yet? And they're like, no. I'm like, you got a long way to go. Like, that is the hardest part of the process, is turning interest into offers. And if you don't know how to do that, you're going to run into what I call leaky bucket syndrome. And leaky bucket syndrome is where you generate interest and then you lose it and it fizzles out and it vanishes over time, and coaches start ghosting you because you don't know how to progress those relationships. And if you have leaky bucket syndrome, you will not be able to make progress in the process because you're going to generate interest and lose it, generate it, lose it, because it's always going to be leaking out the other side. You must learn how to solve this problem if you truly want to take all of your relationships to the next level with college coaches. Now, these are the issues that you're probably running into right now. It's likely a combination of multiple of them, but it's at least one of them. If you have less interest in offers than you hope for, it is at least one of the things that I just mentioned. Now, what should you do instead? Right? What should you do instead? If those are the issues, how should you handle them differently? The first thing is that I recommend, unless you really know what you're doing in the recruiting process, I recommend you not go to a showcase or a camp unless you're already in contact and conversation with coaches ahead of time who are going to be there. So don't go to an event unless you're already talking to the coaches who are going to be there. You want to be on that list. When there's 100 players there, you want to be on the list of 5 or 10 that they're actually watching. That alone is going to save you tens of thousands of dollars. There it is, for free. Here you go. It's going to save you tens of thousands of dollars. Don't go to an event for exposure. Go to an event for evaluation. You're not going to an event for a college coach to discover your kid and learn that your kid exists. That's not why you go to an event. That's how you waste a lot of money. You go to an event for evaluation where coaches who already know who your kid is are going to evaluate them in person. Coaches that have responded to your email, coaches that have watched your video, maybe even coaches that have been on a phone call with your kid. Those coaches are way more likely to actually watch your kid at the events themselves. The second thing Instead of contacting 20 to 30 schools, contact 100 plus. It's so critical that you do this. And I have met a lot of families who regretted contacting too few schools. I have never met a single family who regretted contacting too many. It's never happened. The more interest in offers that you have, the easier it is to get more interest in offers. Have you ever heard the saying, the rich get richer? The same is true in college recruiting, which leads me to the third thing, which is the highlight video. Right now, if you are making a highlight video that is 1 to 4 minutes and you are entertaining college coaches, you are missing out on interest. I guarantee it. Instead, what you need to do is get a list of skills for your kid's position and get video of every single one of those skills. Because how does a college coach evaluate an athlete? They say, this is what position the kid plays, and here are all of the skills that I'm evaluating to see whether they can play at the next level or not. So if that's how they're going to evaluate a player, then that's how you should be helping them evaluate your player. Write down every single position, or every single skill rather, for your position that your kid needs to showcase, and go get video for all of them. This is how you help a coach evaluate your kid, not just entertain them with highlights. Okay. The fourth thing is relying on your club coach or travel coach for connections, right? Or high school coach. Now, listen, your coach can be involved in the process. And if they bring schools to you, all the better. We love that. That would be great. But don't be reliant on that. Instead, if you do some of the things that I just told you about, and you go contact more schools and you do the highlight video thing, then you are going to be able to start conversations yourself. Now, what's going to happen from there? Those coaches are probably going to call your travel club high school coach and get a recommendation. And the funny thing is that your coach is going to pick up the phone every single time. They didn't have to be the one to initiate or start the conversation. They're just picking up a call from a college coach who they already want to establish a connection with. So you're literally doing them a favor. And then they're going to say, oh yeah, the kid is great. You should definitely recruit them. That is the primary purpose of a coach in the recruiting process. And then finally, turning interest into offers. This is all centered around making it easy for a college coach to recruit your kid. Most people are under the impression that once a coach expresses interest, that they're just going to follow your kid. They're going to track their season. They're going to track their stats. They're going to look for new video. They're going to initiate conversations on their own. And that is not true. Unless your kid is an absolute stud, that is not happening. Instead, what you should be doing is following up consistently and taking the burden of communication off of a college coach. You need to shoulder that burden and keep them updated with your kid's progress. It is not a lack of interest on the college coach's part. It is a lack of time. They have so much on their plate and so many other priorities that they don't have time to initiate every single conversation with your kid. So if you let them do that, if you wait for them to do that, you're going to be waiting forever. Instead, you need to initiate those conversations. I've literally had coaches say, you made my life so easy by doing this. They are asking you to do this. You are not annoying them. You are helping them do their job. That is how you turn interest into offers. You make their life easier by continuing to give them updates as to what your kid is up to and how they're playing. If you do these 5 things, you will be in a better spot than you are in right now in college recruiting. I guarantee it. This has worked for hundreds of other athletes, 14 different sports, tens of millions in scholarships. This is what's working right now. Don't listen to all of the nonsense out there telling you to just go to as many showcases and camps as you can. Play on the highest quality travel team that you can. Just send 20 or 30 emails. This is nonsense. And what ends up happening in recruiting is that everybody hears this advice and then they regurgitate this advice because nobody wants an original thought apparently in this process. They just regurgitate what they've heard before. And that sucks because it's going to keep you in this position forever where you have less interest in offers than you hope for, and you're not really sure how to make this happen. And then you're going to get to senior year and you're going to hit the panic button because a lot of the opportunities are gone and you have no idea how you're going to make this happen. The deadline is bearing down on you, and that is just not a fun place to be. And so fix these problems now while you still have time so that you can enjoy senior year and you either are already committed by then or you have things in the pipeline that you're pretty confident you're going to get committed during senior year. And that is how you make the process easier on yourself and you get your kid to a school that they love. Now, if you want help in the recruiting process and you'd like to go through the same program that all of these other families have gone through that have generated tens of millions of dollars in scholarships and turned us into, ironically, which is crazy to say, one of the fastest growing recruiting programs in the country, then click the button in the description, or the link in the description rather, to learn more about our programs and how we can help you navigate through the college recruiting process. So you can click that link in the description, and I will see you guys next time.